Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm an audiometrist from Blamey, Saunders, Hears. I've also had hearing loss for most of my life, so I know exactly what it means to go through some of the challenges that hearing loss can present. So if you know or suspect that somebody has hearing loss, the best thing you can do is really try to make it as easy for them as you possibly can. So there's no point trying to call them from another room or if they're not directly facing you, because often, even though they may actually hear the sound of your voice, there isn't that connection there for them to establish that you're actually trying to get their attention or that you're actually addressing them directly. So the best thing you can do there is just try to get their attention via another means. Easiest way to do it is if you can be within their line of sight, so then they know that you're actually there and they can then turn their attention towards you. If that's not practical, just a gentle tap on the shoulder or some other non-auditory means in order to get their attention. Once you've got their attention, I guess the main thing then is just try to make it as easy for them as you possibly can. So if they find it's difficult to understand what you've said, if they ask you to repeat, maybe give it another try, perhaps saying it a little bit slower, maybe enunciating your words a little bit better. If they're still not quite getting it, it could be something about the combination of those words that is confusing them. So the best thing you can do there is perhaps try wording it in a different way. Another useful tip is if you can maybe introduce the topic of what you want to talk about beforehand. Sometimes you might find that perhaps raising your voice a little bit might help them a little bit to understand. You don't want to talk too loudly though, because for hearing aid users, sometimes too much volume can actually be uncomfortable for them and can actually scramble the signal. If you need to get them to come to you, again, rather than calling them from another room, it would be preferable if you can actually come to where they are. But if you do need them to come to you, rather than using words like here or there, or can you come here, actually telling them the name of the location that you are. If you call out to them and they say, where are you? Again, rather than saying here, so I'm in the bathroom, I'm in the kitchen, or wherever the case might be. Biggest thing is you are going to get frustrated. It is a difficult thing. It can be quite challenging trying to get your message across to somebody who has a hearing loss. And you're going to likely want to just basically say, never mind. And sometimes in your mind that could be justified because you think, well, what I want to say is not really that important, and you're obviously having a lot of difficulty understanding what I'm saying, so at the end of the day it's not worth it. But for somebody with hearing loss, it's actually the worst thing you can possibly say, because it gives them the impression that they're just not that important for you to spend that extra time. So rather than saying never mind, again, try maybe wording it a different way. Break the topic up into several smaller bits, several smaller bite-sized chunks that makes it easier for them to digest. Worst case scenario, if you need to write it down, do so. At the end of the day, they're not going to really mind as long as you make the effort that you're getting the message across, rather than giving the impression that you've actually just given up on them. The thing to keep in mind is, as frustrated as you are trying to make yourself understood, the person with the hearing loss is bound to be 10 times as frustrated, because they're just not getting it, and they know that you're getting annoyed, and they know that you're getting frustrated, and that just makes them more anxious about it, which makes it harder for them to actually comprehend what you're trying to say. So try to be patient. Yes, it's difficult for you, but it is so much more difficult for the person with the hearing loss. So if you've got hearing loss, it is a really difficult thing to come to terms with at first, and there's a lot of techniques and things that people can tell you as to how to deal with that. I think, and just from my personal experience, I think the biggest thing I've found was just acceptance of the hearing loss. Talking about it is probably the most important thing that I think you can do, because without giving people the understanding of what it's like to have hearing loss, you can't really expect them to understand. And that was a mistake that I made for a long time. I was really went through a really depressive state because I felt like nobody understood, like it was my problem, and I was isolated. The moment I then did an about face in my attitude and actually started speaking to people about it, and when people were talking to me in a way that made it difficult for me, if there was an environment that made it difficult for me, the moment I let people know, hey, this is actually really making it hard for me, can we see about making some changes, I found that things actually improved considerably. The other thing to keep in mind is that protect the hearing that you've got. That is absolutely paramount, because once you've lost your hearing, there's currently no means, whether it be medically or via technology, to restore that lost hearing. So protecting what you've got while you've got it is the best thing you can do to ensuring that you don't have a life of misery and difficulty because of your hearing loss. Hearing aids will make it easier for you. They're not going to remove the problem altogether. So those situations are always going to be difficult. There are assistive devices out there that can help in meeting situations, or if you like to dine out and you find those situations difficult, remote microphones can help. Watching television, remote microphones are also going to help in those situations. Phonak has got a really great device called the Roger Pen. I like to tell people it's like the Swiss Army knife for hearing aid users because it is so versatile. Good thing being is the Roger Pens work well with Blamey Saunders' latest hearing aids. So if you've got an Opus or a Facet, you're going to be able to get a real lot of benefit from a device such as the Roger Pen. Don't put it all on the hearing aids. Talk about the hearing loss that you've got. Help yourself and help others to understand what hearing loss is like, and you'll find that you'll be a lot happier. So that was just a couple of tips based upon my experience of living with hearing loss and also being an audiometrist. I hope you found them useful. Thanks for watching.